Welcome to the Writing Gals. We are 4 sweet romance authors staying up late. And tonight we're going to be talking about what to do when you don't have a launch that goes as well as you would like. So, this is something that's very close to our hearts right now at this time. At least to me it is. Anyway, but first we wanted to kind of give an update on what we've been doing. And first, let's go with Victorine. What have you been up to?
All right. Well, I have been rapid releasing my young adult series. So I'm on book 3, just released, and I'm finished with book 4, and it's with the editors right now. And I'm starting on writing book 5. So it's super exciting. Love it.
That's crazy. You have been writing them so fast. So awesome.
They're short.
Still, that's awesome. And what about you, Michelle? What have you been doing? You're muted. You're muted, Michelle.
I just unmuted.
Oh, well, now we can hear you.
Okay. Everything's working. Okay. I just released my 3rd book in my young adult romance series today. So that's exciting. It's just getting started. And I am being crazy and writing new fun for love stuff and trying to get the last 2 books in the series written. So, this topic is right on time for me too. I've been struggling with my lunches recently. I mean, I think the whole industry is making it tough for us. So, but I'm having fun writing again, which is really important. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, that's good. And it's fun that you're getting a for love book in there a little bit too. It's cool. What about you, Amy? What have you been doing?
Well, I am struggling with my current work in progress. So, and trying to struggle with that with kids at home is not fun. I wish I could give my full undivided attention, but Tuesday my kids go back to school and I'm really excited because I'm ready for them to go so that I can get back into the swing of things. I kind of took July and August off-ish, sort of. And it's kind of interesting to be like, oh, wow, there's a lot that I was doing before, just even sitting down to think about all the things that I have to do when it comes to like promotions, advertising, writing, keeping up to date on Facebook groups and stuff like that. It really made me realize, wow, I was really doing a lot. And then now trying to weed out what I was doing that I don't necessarily want to do. Mm-hmm. And then, work all that stuff out and prepping myself. I think August is just a slow month for everybody. And so, being prepared to say, okay, well, August is a bad month, but September, October, November are going to be great months. So how am I going to make that happen? And then planning and prepping during this month to help me in upcoming months. Because what I don't get done in this month, I'll feel in 2 or 3 months when that income's not coming in or that income's not as high as it should be or where I want it to be. Or, where I'm like, oh, I could have really used that extra X amount of money so I could advertise this new book. So it's, did it affect me as much financially? Yes. Now as much? Probably not. But it's something I'll feel in the future. So you're going to have to keep that in mind. So for a very long, drawn out explanation, I'm just trying to survive.
Yeah, I totally get that. And for me, I was trying to survive the last couple of weeks. My kids, the oldest 3 did go back to school, but my husband also started working again. And so that took some adjusting, and I have a 3-year-old still at home. And so I found that I was having a really hard time finding time to write, and just because I am super easily distracted. And so any little thing, I don't know, I have a really hard time. And so I decided to put her into childcare for a few hours a day. And so I'm hoping that I can get some words done and pay for that childcare. So, so that's what I've been doing. I've been brainstorming and rewriting the first chapter a lot in my latest book, and I'm hoping that I have the right first chapter going now. So yeah, that's what I've been doing. So yeah, that's pretty much it for that. And so now we have a lot of questions that you guys gave us on our Facebook group. So we'll just get right into those. And so Christina Herrera asks, what's the best way to get ready for a launch? So this is before the launch goes bad, to maybe try and avoid the bad launch. So what's the best way to get ready for a launch? And is it worth to pay a bunch of people to review your book and blog about it?
I would say definitely don't pay to get reviews, because that's never worth it. First of all, it's against the TOS on Amazon, so you'll get in trouble if they find out you're paying for reviews. If you want to send out advanced review copies of your book, then that's perfectly fine. Mm-hmm. And if you have a review team that you can set up to get excited about your book, and you can send them the pre-published copy, that's what I do to get those first 30 or so reviews up. So gosh, as far as preparing for the launch, I would say definitely have something set up so that you can have people sign up for your newsletter after the book is published, especially if it's your first one. And try to set up some swaps. People who publish in your own genre, maybe they can shout it about your book on their newsletter.
Yeah.
So I currently, since I'm launching right now, I'm regretting the fact that I am writing and publishing at a much quicker pace than I'm used to. So I didn't have as much time to prepare for this launch. So I'm barely doing anything for this launch at all. And I did not get my pre-order for the next book set up before this book went live. So now I currently do not have a link to the next book in all my pre-orders that went out. And so, I'm really frustrated that I didn't do more ahead of time. But that doesn't mean that this is the end of this book, right? So we can do what we can to prepare for a launch. And I'm sure we'll talk more as the podcast goes on about all the different things that can factor into how well your launch goes. But I'm just trying to remind myself that the launch is not the end of your book. It's not like it's only performance that matters. So even if I can't get my book to be super successful in this first few weeks, my whole goal is about getting the whole series out and getting the series to perform and using that as back matter to make me money long term. And that would include promotions in the future, possible ads, box sets. I mean, there's so many different things that you can do to make a book successful. So if your launch plan isn't perfect, or you don't have everything worked out, or it doesn't go exactly the way you want it to, just remember that there's a lot more game left in that book.
Yeah. So for me, the best things, just if you just want a simple list or whatever, the best is to do while it's being edited or whatever, get the newsletter swap set up like Victorine had talked about, have your newsletter, ready to go, and be, maybe giving a little warning that it's coming out soon, and then have the ARC copies sent out and give the link for the people to leave the reviews for when it comes live. And then when it does go live, I always like to email my ARC readers about when they should review it. And then if you want to do promotions, you can usually schedule those once you have 10 reviews, I think. And a lot of those are just for 99 cents books. And so, just there's not a ton that I do, really. Just upload it and hope there's reviews and have people share. So, and sometimes I've done a free day, I guess, on one of my books that was in the series, and that helped a lot too. So,
that's a good idea.
Yeah, that was my best launch when I did do the free day. So I'm I should have done that again.
And then, of course, if you do ads, that can add a whole new element to your launch, and can really bring a lot of success and visibility to a launch that you wouldn't otherwise have. So if you're comfortable doing ads and you have the budget for it, then definitely, prepare to get those ads running. And you can do that, with your launch when your book goes live, or you can have different strategies for the ads to even begin before the book launches. So there's just a lot of different things with ads that we could go into, but I don't do ads very well. So
Yeah,
that might be
I
something
don't
Amy
either.
chimes in with later.
Yeah.
If she can stay awake with me.
Okay, so I think we answered that question pretty well. So let's do the next one. It's from Amanda Bailey. She says, what are the best ways to get your name out there to prevent the next launch from going just as poorly?
We'll try to figure out why this did go poorly, right?
Yeah.
I remember when I launched my book, Saved by the Rockstar, it just was not selling. It was not moving. And I was talking to these ladies and I was like, what is wrong with this book? Because there is something wrong with this book. And I just didn't think it was the cover. I didn't think it was, the story itself. And so we were looking at it and we put some ads on it and it helped. I think mostly surprisingly, the biggest thing I did was change the tagline and the blurb, and it really took off and did better. It never completely recovered, and it didn't do as well as the other books in the series did, but it did take off, another huge step when I changed the tagline and blurb. So look at those things. You gotta use some analytic, thinking and decide, okay, I think this is okay, but maybe it's not working. So let's tweak it. Let's try something new and let's, track the data and see what's performing better. And as far as getting your name out there, we always say the best thing to do is get the next book out. Mm-hmm. And you have no guarantees. There's no way to say, okay, if I do this and this, the next launch is going to do better. You can try and learn from the past and try to recreate successes or try to stave off different problems that you had. But the biggest thing you can do is just keep, constantly trying to do each launch better and get it out there. And that's how you get your name out, is just by putting books in front of readers all the time. And then they start to remember your name. And that makes that one click a lot easier. When they see, oh, I like that book, I like that author, I recognize her now. That's when you start having better and better launches, because you have a solid base, a platform of people who are willing to click on your book due to name recognition.
Yeah.
Yes. And if you take a minute and just list your favorite authors and then look at those names and think about what makes you feel like those are your favorite authors, you've read their books, right? So you're not going to look at your favorite author and say, oh yeah, I saw all these great ads from this author and that's why I like them. No, so when people ask me, how do you get your name out there? I think, well, you have to get your book in front of people. So even if you're giving it away, even if you make it free and buy up some ads to give it away, people have to read something that you've written in order to know that they like you and that they want to pick up your next book. And so, like Michelle said, get the next book out, write a reader magnet, make it free, something to entice people to try you as an author. And then that's how you get your name out there.
Yep. Very good.
I would say, Judy, as well, if your launch went poorly and you want to get your name out there, I think with all of us in the beginning, the best thing we did was join newsletter swap groups. And that makes me think, like, there's a lot of groups that you're a part of where they just drop. They go in, they drop their book, and they leave, and they don't participate in anything that happens in the group. And they say this about Facebook groups as well. If you go into a group and there's posts, but there's only 2 or 3 comments on each post, it doesn't matter if there's 13 million people in there. There's not very many people seeing it. There's not many people being receptive and talking and things like that. So I would be very much an active person in a newsletter swap group. And maybe you don't have a big newsletter. I didn't have a big newsletter starting out, but I reached out to big name authors. I reached out to other people. I emailed. I talked. I said, hey, listen, I have a small group, but I will promote you and I will talk about you and I will do what I can. And so doing those sorts of things, because I mean, not only are you getting visible in these other people's audiences, but they're also kind of giving you that word of mouth saying, this is another sweet romance author I know. Maybe they didn't read your book, but they now know you because they can see you in the group. They can see you talking and chatting and making comments, and then that you're not a drone. I think the most disconcerting thing in a group is when people are on there and you're not really 100% sure who they are or who like it's great to have PAs and virtual assistants, but if you're in a newsletter group and you keep saying I'm so and so's person, that's really impersonal, and it's really hard it's really easy as another author to be like, yeah, I don't feel great about that, so I'm just not going to swap with that person. Like, you need to be genuine, and you need to say, here's who I am, and I will respond, and you're panicked because you need somebody to share your book, I'll do that. All those sorts of things. The author community is really small, and so all these little things that you're doing to put your name out there to all these other authors, then they're more willing to share you with their audiences. And honestly, for me, starting out, it was from people sharing my book with their audiences that got me their friend, their audiences. And then I grew to going out and running ads and finding my own audiences. But I didn't start that way. I started in newsletter swap groups, begging people to swap things for me. So I think if you're trying to get your name out there, the biggest thing you can do is be genuine and be active in these newsletter swap groups.
Yep.
Same.
Very good. Okay. Nomi Summers asks she wants to know what each of us defines as a crappy launch and what makes a successful launch.
Well, I was thinking about this just earlier today, how my launch this month did not go well for me. But if I would have had a launch like this when I first started publishing, I would have been super fantastic launch, because my first month when I published my first book, I made $7, and so compared to that, this is a great launch. But compared to my past launches where I've, made $1,000 in the first week, this launch hasn't gone so well. I'm only at, $450. And normally I make more than that. So it's really subjective, really is.
Yeah.
If you look at if I go in and look at my history where I've had different launches, previous to 2017, I would have been thrilled to get my book over 10,000 in rank.
Yeah.
After 2017, I saw that it was possible for me to get under 1,000, like into the 800 or 900s, and I was like, wow, okay, that's the new standard of a launch, is to break past the 1,000 rank barrier. And where I am now, if I can't get over that hurdle and then maintain it for a while, then I get super stressed out. And my last couple of books have just dipped past 1,000 to like 800 or 900, and I haven't gotten up to the 2 or 3 or 100 ranks where I've gotten before. And so I've been like, But the good news is that on some of these books, the launch didn't necessarily go where I wanted it to go, but it would stick better. And so it would maintain a healthy money earning rank for a long period of time. So I've learned to factor in not just the rank that I can get to, but to factor in how my book will stay at a good rank that earns me money. And I'm much more interested in that right now while I'm trying out new genres and I'm trying to, figure out different paths that I want to take. I'm very happy if my book will just stay and earn me money. And I'd say, anything over 4,000 in rank, if I could keep there for a few months, I'm thrilled, because you can make money at full price book in that rank long term. So
Yeah, I agree with that. Without just going what I define as a crappy launch. So I guess I've never made it quite as high in rank as any of these ladies. My highest rank ever was $6.99, and I was there for like a day, and then it quickly went away. But the best one that I ever had what it made it to. So it made it to 801, but it like stayed there for a really long time. And that book, even a year later, is still selling really well. And so that's the kind of launch that I would love to have again, just one that just stays. Like my latest one that I did, for now, I'm saying it's a crappy one because it's my worst one ever. And but with that one, so it went up, like it got to like the 1300s in the store, I think, and then it has just been falling and falling and falling ever since. It didn't stick. Like every single other one of mine's at least kind of stuck in the 2000, 3000 range, or this one today it's in the 7000s. And I'm like, this is not fun because it's been out for a couple weeks. And I know, you know, it's all subjective. Like Victorine says, like a lot of people would be like, that's an amazing thing. I wish I could get that. But when you're used to something else, it's hard. So
yeah. It's the falling. It's the fighting to keep your rank where you want it. How hard you're having to work and push and throw strategies at a launch to try and keep the rank where you want it. That's when I know I'm having a launch problem. Yeah. When it takes off and does its own thing and just does, you know, whatever it's going to do with Amazon working its magic, that's when I have a fabulous launch. So for me, it's how hard I'm having to work to maintain rank, is whether or not it's a good launch or a bad launch.
Yep. So now I'm like, maybe I should change my title. Maybe I should change everything.
I know. It's one of those things where you probably aren't quite sure what exactly it is. Is it August? Because everybody's going back to school. I mean,
except like last August was my best month ever. So I'm like, August was supposed to be awesome. I had all these plans.
Yeah. So I kind of look at it as a whole book approach because every book is different, right? And so you have to look at everything, the blurb, the cover, what tropes you put in, what market you're trying to hit. Did you miss the market a little bit, or is it just a crazy month and everybody's trying to get their kids back to school?
Yeah.
Well, and I think for me, my best launch was my rule number 1 launch, but that was all completely out of my control. Like to me, the best launch is when you launch your book and then your rank just starts climbing all on its own and it doesn't cost any money. And you're just sitting there going, I don't know what's going on, but this is amazing. And I love this, but that is totally like not anything we can control. Like it happened with my rule number 1 and it happened with Michelle's Sawdust and Mistletoe at Christmas time, where we were just watching her rank climb and we were like, what's going on? How is this happening? Or like my Christmas, my Mistletoe Kisses Christmas one, for like 3 weeks, it stayed in the top 200 with like $10 ad spend. And I was like, this is an awesome launch. But then I've had launches where it's like, I did really well for the first 3 rule series. And then I put number 4 out thinking it was going to be amazing. Tanked. I put Miring a Spy out. It tanked. It was during this Amazon when they were shifting things around and changing the algorithm and changing the OSLA bots. And that was that like black hole period of time. And then there's been releases that I've done that I have literally paid and clawed my way to the top. Mm-hmm. Then there's been times where it hasn't been that hard. So, I mean, a crappy release to me would be, I would say money, but I mean, also I'm like, I know like these last 2 releases, I didn't get super high, but I intentionally did that because I didn't want to spend that much money. So yes, in terms of but in terms of what I wanted to do, I was okay with it because I was like, I really don't want to pour all this money into my books right now. So I would say, a crappy launch to me would be not being prepared, not having a plan, and just throwing it up and hoping something sticks. But every other launch, like I try my hardest to do what I can, and to me it's not a crappy launch. But then I use ads like, they're candy. So I'm like, fine, you don't want to move, Amazon? I'm gonna make you move. And then I I have to be in control like a control freak I am. So but then I pay for it too. So I guess I don't know. I hope that makes sense. I don't know. Just try.
Very good. Okay. So the next question is from Sophie Leigh Robbins. I hope I said that all right. Or maybe Sophie Lee Robbins. I don't know. Okay. And she says, where would you put your marketing dollars with only a couple of books out? For me, I would probably do like a free day on the first book in that series or whatever. That's what I would do.
Yeah. And I would buy ads like on Robin Reads or e-reader News Today.
Free Booksy.
Yeah, Free Booksy. Ask in whatever author your group you're in, and you can ask in the Writing Gals what places are working well right now, because that sometimes fluctuates. Sometimes Free Booksy doesn't do as well for me as other times. So I would ask currently what's working really well, which sites to advertise a free book, and put your dollars there.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think Sawdust and Mistletoe, which was my first book that really took off, I think I had a $10 a day Facebook ad on it during Christmas. And it was enough that, when it spent, I think as it spent, it just kept my rank floating well enough that all the, organic sales that came in just were able to move it that much higher. So I that $10 a day Facebook ad wasn't like burning the world down. It was just like a little bit, just a nudge in the right direction. So you don't have to have a huge ads budget to make, a positive, have a positive effect on your sales every day. So, don't rule ads out just because you don't have a huge budget for it.
Yeah, good point. I'll just go to the next one from Sally Henson. She says, it's crappy, but how do you analyze so you don't have a repeat? And so kind of like Michelle talked about earlier, analyze your blurb, your description, the cover, the market.
I think all of those things are important. And how did you launch? Did you launch at 99 cents? Did you launch at full price? Are you overpriced for your market? Or, did you do it enough swaps? Like Michelle said, she's been super busy and hasn't done a lot for this launch. And I'm in the same boat. I just launched a book. I didn't do hardly anything. I didn't set up swaps or anything. And so that's probably one of the things I need to analyze. What can I do better next time?
Yeah. And, those things that you look at and you're trying to fight, is this the problem? You need to change those things. Be willing to change them and see if something else works better, because you can, guess all you want to. But like when I changed my tagline and my sales increased, it shows me, okay, this tagline is hooking people better than what I had before. This blurb, I have seen a big improvement in my books sales converting better, my books converting better with blurbs. So there was one launch that I had that wasn't going well, and Victorine had done a swap with me and sent my book out, and she got a lot of clicks and like no sales for my book. And I was like, oh, that's a problem. That's a sign right there. People were hooked enough by like the cover or something, and then they get there and they weren't buying the book. Like I didn't get any sales that day, or 7 sales that day with 150 clicks or something like that. I was like, okay, so there's clearly something disconnecting the reader once they get there. And the only way you're going to figure out what it was is to change things. And so, I think on that particular book, I changed my blurb and I rewrote it in a completely different style. And, it helped to fix the problem. So you got to change things. You got to be flexible. You got to not think emotionally, get emotionally attached to, your blurb or your tag or your cover or even your first chapter. I mean, be willing to change and try things and not think that just because this is good or this is good enough or I like this, it doesn't mean that you can't do something better for the reader.
Yeah, I agree. The big eye-opener I had when I read Brian Minks's book about writing your descriptions, your blurbs, he said something to the effect of, what makes you think that the very first blurb you write is going to be your best one? And I was like, oh my gosh, you're so brilliant. It needs tweaking. It needs changing. I mean, write 3 or 4 or 5 blurbs and pick which one you think is best there. Try them out. Try them out in Facebook ads. Try several different blurbs in Facebook ads. See which one gets the most clicks. Use that one.
I think we all know what I'm doing tomorrow, don't we? Rewriting blurbs, yeah.
And there's always something to learn, always something that you could be doing better. As I think I'm launching like my 21st book soon or something like that. And I'm just now learning something new that I can do with my keywords. And I'm just now figuring out that I have link issues with, whether people are able to click on my links for my next book. I'm just now figuring out I have a problem with that I need to fix. I mean, it's just, what can you improve with your back matter? What can you do better on your website to, because there's all this new stuff I want to experiment with. What if on my website, if I'm sending people to my series page, now that I have so many series and so many books out, instead of trying to get them to convert one at a time with a click on one title, when I release a new book, if I send them to a series page, they can see on the series page which ones they still haven't bought, and they can one click the whole series or everything that they haven't already read in the series. And so to me, that's fewer times that I have to get someone to click on something to move them through my series. So there's just constantly things that we can be analyzing and trying and experimenting with. So, my new release right now is probably not going to be like the best launch I've ever had. In fact, I would fall down in shock if this launch went well. But I'm not done. I have plans for this whole series, and this is an end game thing versus, right now this book is the only thing I care about kind of thing. So that's where I am.
Perfect.
I would also say for me, when I'm launching a book, and I think especially if it's a later in the series book, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, why isn't this book rising in rank? Why is it a crappy release? And then I notice, well, yes, my book number 5 is not getting as high, but my book number 1 is raising in rank. And I think so. One of those reasons could be, and it goes both ways, is do people look at your book or your series and say, oh, I don't want to start with book 5. I want to start with book 1. So they actually end up buying book 1 instead of book 5. So like if you're sending people to your book, but then I hear from other people who say that readers like seeing multiple books in a series, and they will purchase all the books at once, or they'll purchase the one book with knowing that they'll be able to have more of the type of books as they go on. So that could be another explanation for your crappy books like launch. Or for me, that was one where I was like, well, maybe next time I'll try and not link my books together and see if that does actually better for me. Because then I'm actually actively trying to launch this book, but really what you're doing is raising the series as a whole. And we often focus in on just one book and what that's making us and where that rank is. But if you were to say, okay, here, out of all my 6 books, my income has doubled or tripled by launching this book, well, technically, maybe the book didn't get as high or make you as much money in just launching. But if it's raising the entire series and the entire series income, then I wouldn't consider it a crappy launch at all.
And I was going to say a minute ago, historically, across all of my series so far, the second book has been my worst launch. So after I get a 3rd book and a 4th book or a 5th book out, the second book is always the one that launched the worst and did the worst and overall has the fewest sales and the fewest reviews. It's just like the second book curse. I don't know what it is. I really, it's kind of this weird mystery, but I kind of think part of it might be that the first book is exciting and people want to check your series out. And then they kind of get into this, like, wait for the next book. And so by the time there's 3 books and you get those people who are like, oh, there's actually a whole series here for me, but I don't know. Second book, if it's struggling, it might just be the second book curse. So just write the 3rd book.
I think it's 6 book curse for me.
You've only got like one series though, right?
Yeah, I'm adding to my second one now.
You don't-
Finally,
You don't have the data to refute what I'm saying, Judy.
I know. So I'm like, my second book did just fine. Better than the one that came out just barely.
Well, I haven't gotten to 6, so I can't refute what you're saying either.
Yeah, fun stuff. I don't know if I'm ever gonna do a 6 again because of this. Whatever. Okay, sorry. Bad attitude, Judy. Okay. Okay, next question. Can you tell I picked this topic for tonight? Anyway. Okay, so we're to Christina Buttram, and she asks, how/where do you put your marketing dollars for a book releasing without a discount? Most newsletter services require the book to be 99 cents. For me, I put some money towards AMS ads and sometimes Facebook ads, but
That's what I would do for a full price book. I don't know of any other outside of those two places that I would spend money on for a full price book.
Yeah, and with that, I would probably start out slow too, just to make sure you're not putting like $100 a day down or whatever. It's like start out little, make sure your ads are converting and doing well.
Yeah.
Or just on the off chance that it's a later book in your series that you're keeping at full price, then put your money towards the first book.
Yeah. So one thing that did help me with this launch, that did help the rank go a little better, was I put my first book at 99 cents. And that's when I finally started seeing things move a little bit more. So I'd probably try something like that, get the people in your series for cheap, and then because you've already made money on that first book, hopefully, and then hopefully they'll go to your latest one.
That's exactly what I did too.
Okay, next question is from Shannon Cooley. She says, if you blow the launch and your book's rank tanks, is it possible to fix it and make it sticky at a better rank? Or do you just wait and hope the next book can help it out later?
I would say, depending on how long you're into your launch, right? If you've just launched and you're 3-4 days later, it's going down, you can try to pour some money into Facebook ads or something like that to try and boost it back up again. But if you're, 25, 30 days in, you're going to hit your 30-day cliff, and it's just naturally going to be less visible. And so you're going to see that rank.
No, it's too late for me then.
I've had success revitalizing a book up to 2 weeks after launch. Because then I would still have 2 weeks for Amazon to be like, oh, this book is finally going up. Oh, yeah. Well, okay, I'm going to promote it a little bit. And then I would have 2 weeks of Amazon like new release promotion, and then it would get sticky there for the next, 60, 90-day cliffs kind of thing. So I would say if you can't get it moving within about 2 weeks or less of your launch date, then you're probably not going to be able to get it to rise without spending a lot of money on ads for it. And since I don't do ads, I pretty much just at that point say, okay, this is going to be what it's going to be. And I'm going to accept it like a big girl. And then I'm going to go ahead and focus on the next book in the series or the next series and say, okay, when I put this out as a box set for this whole series, that book is going to be in there and it's going to be getting me page reads. It's going to be contributing to, my bottom line in the future. It's not, gone or dead or a loss ever. It's material that you own that can continue to make money for you indefinitely. There are people that are going back right now and republishing 20, 30-year-old series, refreshing them a little bit and, relaunching them and making money. So I hear people talking about that all the time. This, your books don't expire as an indie author, especially.
Mm-hmm. Judy might be frozen.
Yep, I think. Oh, she's twitching a little bit.
Are you talking to me? My computer froze. Yeah, I was gone for a bit. I'm like, well, I have the questions, so you guys have them too because I emailed them. So yeah. Was that all for that question then? I cut out. So okay. Next one is from Diana Sharples, and she says, asks, which of the major ad markets parentheses, BookBud ads, Amazon sponsored ads, Facebook ads, etc. Do you recommend investing in if you've got a small budget?
I can tackle this one. So for BookBub ads really like and work well. I haven't gotten them to work well for me, but they do. BookBub is all about deals. So 99 cents free. Full price books are a harder sell for BookBub because people who are subscribed to BookBub, they want just good deals. So if your book is like, if you're running a 99 cent or if you're running a free promo while you're launching a book, that might be a decent one to use. I just haven't gotten BookBub ads to work really well for me at a good price. I use Amazon sponsored ads as like a slow burning in the background, keeping my books visible on Amazon. There's ways that you can use Amazon ads to like boost your rank for a new release, but it gets pricey, and I'm just not 100% sure that that's where I want to spend my money. Facebook ads are probably for me launching are the best because you can really quickly see what your ads are doing and if they're converting, and then you can scale. They're very scalable. Amazon ads are not as scalable. So like I do really well for my rural series with the lady who wrote To All the Boys I Loved Before,
Jenny Han?
Jenny Han. And but I can't, like, I'm like, okay, yay, these are converting, but how do I get them to convert more? And there's really no way of doing that. So Facebook ads are great. The nice thing about Facebook ads is that you don't have to go out day one and spend $500. So what I would suggest is we talk about slow launching, where you raise your rank over a period of time, whether it be a week, or you can even raise it over 2 weeks. You don't have to rush things. If anything, I would suggest you not rush things, because I have done, like, I got top 100 in 3 days. And it was crazy expensive just to stay there because Amazon was like, what the crap's going on? I don't even know who to sell your book to. I wasn't on AlsoBots. I wasn't in the algorithm yet. So it was crazy trying to just maintain it. And I was like, next time I'm not going to rise so high so fast. So you can do a $5 Facebook ad and test and see what it's doing. What I would suggest you do is, like, the first 3 days of launch, don't have any newsletter swaps. Just either do the organic, kind of let the Amazon page build, and then start a Facebook ad, because you will know in the first, day or so if your ad's working. Are you getting sales? And those sales you could probably attribute to your Facebook ads, and is your rank increasing? And if you have that going on at $5 a day, now you're more comfortable saying, okay, tomorrow I'm going to raise it up $5, and the next day I'm going to raise it up another $5. And you have this extra boost in the background for when your newsletter swaps kick in. And then you can slowly raise your budget every day as you're trying to raise your rank. Just remember that whatever you spend to get high, you're going to want to be able to maintain at that level as well. So don't spend all your budget at the beginning on Facebook ads and then say, okay, yeah, I got a good rank, I'm where I need to be, but now I have no more money and now I have to turn everything off, and you're just going to slide back down. It's better to not get as high, but be able to maintain for a longer period of time. So Facebook ads are kind of scary, and they may seem like something you're not able to do, but try it out. $5 a day is not very much, and it's actually going to give you a lot of information and at least some visibility, especially if you're hanging out in the 100,000s. If you put a $5 a day, you get 1 or 2 sales, it's going to boost you up. So you're going to know, okay, that this audience and my ad copy, ad image are converting. So
very good. Awesome. Okay. The next few questions we've kind of already answered, so I'm just going to skip down. From Lenora, I hope I said that right. Weeks grows. Sorry. So she said, what have been the elements that led to your most successful launch? And then also, what was the single biggest mistake you made with your worst launch? So what helped you have the most success, and what helped you tank it?
So my most successful launch was the 3rd book in my Married series. It was called Mistakenly Married, I believe. I've written too many books. I believe it's Mistakenly Married. And it, like Amy talked about, it just took off. And I had $10,000 income that month from that book launch. And it was amazing. And it honestly, it was not anything I did other than I was writing to a market, a specific trope that I knew would sell well. And the premise, I think the blurb and the cover and the premise of the book sold it. So I think that's what did it. I didn't put any ads on it. I just put the book out.
Yeah, I think my biggest or best launch I've had potentially ever, but definitely this year, has been Saved by the Billionaire, which is the third book in my Rich and Famous series. So like I said, it missed the second book curse. And the third book did really well. It had billionaire in the title, which, guys, it's still selling. So I can't explain it. Everybody's saying, I'm so tired of billionaires, but they still sell. So had a good cover, and it had really good tagline and blurb copy. And it just did well. And it wasn't like a shoot to the stars with ranking, but it was a good slow build and then sticking and sticking and sticking and sticking at really good ranks. I think that one stuck under 1,000 for like 30 or 40 days or 30 days, like through most of its 30-day cliff. And then it hung out under 2,000 for a long time. And so I was really happy with that one. And I think it was just a good combination of putting the right elements together with the cover, the tag, the blurb, the right keywords, all that sort of stuff just kind of hit right. And it's very likely just hit at a good time too. Because the book before that was book 2, was Curse, also went into one of those black hole periods that we see occasionally where nothing sells well.
I would say for me, it's every time I follow the slow launch plan. And it can be if I want to shoot really high and be top 100, or if I just want to release and do well. It just helps you stick, and it's less of a headache. It's less stressful. I can't imagine people who release and expect to get super high day one. That's just too much on my nerves to do. Slow, making sure things are working. I would say this year, my most successful launch was my Billionaire box set, which is just crazy. Out of this year, I think it's been out 3 or 4 months now, and it has made me, out of all my books, the most. And it's only been out for such a short period of time. And I think it was because I was like Michelle said, billionaires are selling. And I wrote these books last January was when I released my last book. And now the 4 of them, because one of them is out, is wide, and the box set has the other 4. I just was really smart. I didn't do anything drastic. I started ads, and I just started running them. And if they worked, then I increased the income. And if the income was increasing, then I increased the ads. And if the income was increasing, I was increasing the ads. And it made me realize that you don't, like, as much as we talk about the 30-day, like, going slow is more important than freaking out, going fast, or freaking out and turning everything off. Like, if you have a plan and you are going to say every day, I'm going to do X, Y, or Z in this launch, is whether it be I'm going to get more newsletter swaps, or I'm going to go on Facebook and I'm going to get some groups to promo me, or I'm going to go buy a My Book Cave promo. I mean, if you're doing something every day and you're slowly increasing those buys and things like that, like, don't panic and don't just say, well, week's over and the book is, sitting where it's at and it's never going to get any better and I'm just going to turn it off, because it's not so true. I know people who it took 30 days to really get a good momentum going, and then the book just took off and was in top 100 on its own. She was spending very little on income because she just did the slow, methodical movement towards raising your rank. So I would say for me, the most successful I have or ranks or launches I have is launches I don't panic in, and I don't get upset or worried. I just say, okay, well, this day I went down a little bit. What can I do tomorrow to raise it? And whether that's start a Facebook ad or start Amazon ads or beg people to put my book in their newsletter, I mean, just keep moving because Amazon wants to sell your book. People want your book. People want to buy your book. So let's, give Amazon a reason to show people your book, put that effort in now, and then your book will remain sticky. And then the other thing I would say is just wait for Netflix to launch another book or movie because that does really, really well for us. So beg Netflix to finally put another YA movie out there.
Yeah, I know, seriously. I know when the next one's coming, and I'm not going to say when.
You do? You know
Yeah.
Netflix? Well, we're going to talk after the show.
Oh,
no. So I'd say my biggest launch mistake, since that was part of the question, has been not managing my newsletter swaps to make my slow launch work. So what I've had problems doing is when I'm lining up newsletter swaps, my preference is to know which newsletters convert well for my book, like whose audience responds well to my books and buys them, and to put those people later in my swap schedule than right at the beginning. So if I end up having, one of my heavy hitter newsletters at the very first day or two of my launch and it shoots my rank up and then I have nothing to sustain it because, I've got my schedule all wonky, then I fall down again and then I have to try this trampoline roller coaster kind of thing. My preference is to, like Amy said earlier, not have any swaps for the first day or a few days and then, build my newsletter so that I have these people that I know my books convert well towards the end of my launch. And the only way I can do that is to know ahead of time, communicate with these people, watch my sales when people send my book out in their newsletters. And that's hard to do if you have 4 people stacked on one day. I mean, it's worth the effort to learn which authors have newsletters that like your books, because there are some authors who say my people respond really well to your books, and then there are other people that I know they could care less about my books, so it's just kind of learning what has worked and using it to your advantage. So that's always the thing, is the analyzation. It's not just what's not working, it's also what did work and then using it to your advantage. And one of the problems I had was when I was in the Sweetwater collaboration, I was not prepared for my book to shoot up high in rank on the first day, because that had never happened to me before, ever. And so I was not prepared to support my rank shooting up that high. And so it ended up crashing again. And I had to just kind of build it back up again. And so, you need to take into consideration what might make this book different than other books, and say, okay, what might I need to do that? So if you're working with really awesome authors with a really awesome series that's going to, likely perform well, then be prepared that you might have to have a different launch strategy than you would have on your individual titles.
Yeah, that's I think what has attributed to my worst launch ever that's going on right now. It was, I think, a lot also because it was on pre-order, and I think with Amazon adjusting the way they do the pre-orders affecting the rank, that has affected the way the last couple have gone that I've done a pre-order on, because it shoots way up the first day and then it's hard to maintain that. So I am kind of I don't know if I'm going to want to do pre-orders anymore, if I want to do the slow launch, because my best launch ever was I did the 3-day or a 3-week pre-order, but it was before they affected the rank. And then with that, I just hit the market really nicely. Netflix came out with a movie with using the same tropes that I was using. They came out with it the month later. And so that just made it stay sticky forever. And so I need to do that again. But yeah, launches are fun. Yay. Any other thoughts on that? No? Okay. And one more question. It's from Lenora again. I might be saying her name wrong multiple times. She says, do you launch differently in different marketplaces? We usually talk about Amazon, but what about other sources? For me, I have not launched anywhere else, so not much help.
I haven't for years, but word on the street is that pre-orders work differently on different platforms, and that you can have them scheduled out way ahead of time, and so that it's actually really good to have pre-orders up for even 6 months or 9 months on some of the other platforms, and you're basically just collecting people in the net on all those other platforms, and you're not having to worry about rank management and Amazon's short window for when you have to like have your manuscript ready and publish and all that sort of stuff. I don't know a lot about how rank and visibility work on any other platform, but I would say that one of the differences with those is that you're going to have less organic or pushing from those platforms. They don't have the also bot set up, and they don't have a lot of the marketing tools that is inherently built into Amazon's pages, your book page. And so you need to do a lot more, marketing on your own for those, like with Facebook ads or something like that, that you're not going to be able to depend as much on like iBooks machine to sell your books like you can depend on Amazon's machine. Does that make sense to everybody? So it's gonna be a lot more work on the author's part to get their book visible with ads and social media and that kind of thing. So, but you can also have universal links that go to all these different places that you can manage from, that makes it easy. Like, for example, I'm seeing a lot of people on Instagram who are using link trees, where you can go in and have, instead of just the one link that you're allowed on Instagram, they can click on it and then it'll take them to a page where you can have all your links listed to take them to the Amazon Marketplace or Apple Marketplace or Google Play or any of these other places that people are shopping on. And so just make sure that if you do sell on those different things, that you have those links available and visible and easy for people to find, so that they can shop on with their preference as far as the platform.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I hadn't thought about that. I'm like, oh, I get one link. I guess I'll link it to my Amazon page. Okay. Any other thoughts on that? Okay. It looks like we have some live questions going on. Does anyone want to read them, or do you want me to read them?
I can read them.
So they do the cool clicky thing.
Oh yeah,
okay.
Good idea.
So Amanda Bailey says, with launching my first in August, I'm hoping number 2 coming out in 2 weeks might be better. So
I've heard good things about 2-week rapid releases. So.
Plus, it'll put her after Labor Day, which I'm hearing is when everyone is expecting the market to start trending up again.
Oh, good.
It's after Labor Day.
I didn't magically write a book in a week.
But I'm just hoping my new release will be like that perfect slow launch, and then right after Labor Days, it'll be time for
it'll swing the other direction. Yeah. I would say putting more books out is always the best to help boost your current book. So that should be helpful. Jan Boyes asks, how do you get review team or ARC team started?
I'm talking. I'll go. Okay. For me, I first started with I asked some Facebook friends, hey, who wants to join my ARC team? And then I also asked my lovely author friends here if they would mind sharing my ARC with their ARC teams, and so that's how I got most of my ARC readers. And then also I've had some people who are on my newsletter that are fans that ask, and I'm always like, okay, sure. So,
and I would say Booksprout I've heard really good things about. So if you don't want to ask your friends to do it, doing it that way. Also, we talk a lot about reviews, but don't stress too much about them. I don't. I get, as long as I have 2 or 3, I'm good. So, but like Judy said, some promo sites require X amount. But you know what I've noticed too? In the notes, you can just say, hey, this is a new release, and you can look at all my other books, and I have, I have an average of 4.5 stars or higher. And sometimes they'll accept you with that as well. So, I mean, reviews are good and they're good to have, but don't stress too much about them if you don't have a ton. Like people can have a lot of reviews and their book rank can be pretty low, pretty opposite direction from one. So reviews, I don't always take it when people do promo. I mean, that's just the readers too. When people do, they poll readers. They say what causes you to buy a book. It's cover, blurb, title. Those are the 3 biggest ones, and then reviews and look insides are like way down. So.
Yeah, and I was going to say, your advanced review team is going to be something that you would probably do better if you build it slowly with people who really like your book and really like your genre, and they're going to be, an active part of your review team. It doesn't do you a lot of good to be sending books out to people who don't review or don't care about, say I write romance. If they're not even romance readers, they're just like my friend on Facebook and they're like, sure, I'll join your team. It doesn't do you any good. It doesn't help you any. So don't be in such a huge rush to build your team. You could have 200 people on your team in a couple of days, but get 2 reviews out of it if you're building it the wrong way. So take time to find real good readers and, treat them well. And that's one of the things that I'm trying to focus on better is giving my review team more time to review, but not too much time to review. Like there's this fine balance in how you manage it, but thank them because they're going out of their way to review for you and give them lots of things, show them that you're grateful for what they do and that and a review team is not necessarily just for reviewing. It's also for, share my link on your page, tell your friends about it. If you have a blog, share it on your blog or pin it to Pinterest. Like give them lots of ways that they can support you and make it easy for them to support you. Give them a shareable link, give them a graphic that they can share, give them links that, they can personalize, but that you've done most of the homework for them. So encourage them to do specific things that make it easy for them and they can, make a big difference for you. But I would also say if you have people that I've seen a lot of people lately being mad at people on the review team giving them bad reviews. And people seem to be upset that you got a free book from me, but you're going to give me a bad review. And I just don't think that this is maybe me just going off. Like you have to be prepared for the fact that they may not like your book. They might love another one of your books and this one didn't work for them. Kicking people off your team right immediately because they leave you a bad review damages your credibility, I think, as an author. That you're only going to allow people to review your books for free if they give you good reviews. I mean, to me, I want to be a little bit more credible than that. And so if it's somebody who just constantly does it or somebody that isn't there for the right reasons or they're clearly not a fan of you and what you write, then they're not going to be doing you any service. But don't get all bent out of shape just because somebody gave you a negative review. Like look at it, like what was wrong with this for them and their experience. There's going to be a lot of management issues with your review team, as far as that kind of stuff and whether or not they're even leaving reviews. And just remember that, whatever you guys are making me have funny eyes. Whatever they're doing is actually helping you. It doesn't hurt you that bad to have a 1-star review, right? I remember when Amy had a 1-star review, her only review when she was launching a book, and
she was still in the 700s that day.
It didn't hurt her at all. They're gonna come.
I cried.
condescending and hurtful, but it didn't hurt her sales.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I look at my books, I'm like, I know how many books I've sold compared to how many reviews I have, and the percentage is so small and piddly, it's not even funny. So I'm
Well,
like, books are, if I don't have the greatest reviews, it's okay. My sales are still looking good, so I'm okay.
Well, and my best-selling book has gotten like the least amount of reviews over time. I'm like, what? But whatever, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I've had books launch with hardly any reviews and do really well. And I've had books where I got, a lot of reviews early on and it didn't sell well. So, like I said, get those quality reviewers that, like your stuff and like you and like your genre and are going to leave a review, and you just need a handful of really good ones. Don't go crazy trying to build this big, giant team of people that are not going to do you any favors.
Yeah.
And they're just making you pay for them because you have to pay for subscribers, and when you get to a certain point, it's significant. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to give, like one of the things I was going to say a minute ago is if you have people in your newsletter that want to join your art team, like Judy mentioned a minute ago, don't be like, well, sure, you don't want to buy my books, Well, I totally get that. But at the same time, having that person on your team might be more valuable than the one book that they would be purchasing.
Yeah, because if they're like super fans, they'll like share it all over social media. Like a couple people that have asked to be on it. Like I see their posts all over everywhere. I'm like, yay!
They probably are accounting for a lot more sales being part of your team than they would.
And they help me feel better about myself when a release isn't going so well. They email me and say, I loved it. I'm like, okay, good.
We need our cheerleaders, don't we?
Yes.
Okay. So this is great because Autumn Stone asks, how often do you engage with your email lists and how large are they?
So how
large are they is like, how much do you weigh? You're like, you can't ask me that.
Mine is big enough that I have to pay for it.
Mine's big enough I had to up the other pay for it. So
I'll say I have over 6,000 people online, but I don't mind sharing that.
She'd also be more likely to share her weight than I would, so
But I let's see, I send out a newsletter twice a week, and mostly just feature books that are sweet romance. So I'm not real personal in mine. I don't, talk about my kids or my cats or anything. I figure they're readers and they want books. So that's what I would want.
I send like a personal one once a week where I get into what's going on in my life or or what I'm working on. And then if I do an extra one, then I usually don't put too much into it because it takes a lot of brain power for me to write about stuff. So.
I have
the author or reader. Sorry, go ahead, Michelle.
You go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say they do read them though. Like I wrote about my husband having surgery and me throwing my back out, and I got a couple of my readers who emailed me back and were like, "I'm so sorry. I feel so bad. Make sure you get lots of rest." So I was like, "Oh, you guys do read it. You guys do care." So
yeah, I usually get at least one response a week. So
especially if I have pictures of my little baby girl, then everybody's always like, "She's so cute." So I'm like, "Yeah, I know. She's adorable."
So I actually have a pretty small list, and it's pretty organic. I haven't done very much to build my list at all as far as like promos or any of the different things you can do to build a list. It's the vast majority of it is organic, and I'm okay with that. I want to step up that game, next year or the end of this year when I can maybe stop and think and spend some time on it. But it does well for me. But honestly, it's, swapping with other authors is probably more effective than my own newsletter as far as raising my rank. It's getting better. I like having the quality subscribers, and so I'm not letting myself freak out about how small it is at this point. I do engage them on a more personal level once a week. I also manage I have 2 genre newsletters. So I send out for one genre on one day and one genre on the next day, and there's a lot of crossover. So a lot of my readers get both of them, but I just try and make them two completely different experiences and the kinds of things that I'm talking about and the books that I'm sharing, obviously. And then I will do a few like special newsletters that go out. Like if I have a new release or somebody else has a, an exciting new release I want to share. And I was worried that I was sharing too often and that my people were going to get tired of it. Number one, it's okay if people unsubscribe from your newsletter if they don't like how you're doing it, because you need to find the readers that are going to be happy with how you're going to be doing it, and not like catering to them as much as you finding the people that like what you're doing. Does that make sense? So I told my readers, if you don't like hearing from me this often and you only want to know when I have a new release, then go into your preferences, click here, and just click, I only want new releases. I don't want to hear from you twice a week or whatever like that. Just give your people the ability to customize their experience so that they don't unsubscribe as quickly. Because sometimes they're very happy. They want to know when you have a new release, but that's all they want to hear from you. They don't want to hear all this other stuff. And so give them that option and you'll get fewer unsubscribes. And then one time I was really surprised because I said something that I was encouraging them to change their preferences. And it was to people who weren't showing that they had been opening my newsletter at all. And I said, I don't want to bother you. So if you don't want to receive newsletters from me, then you can click to unsubscribe. And they thought I was going to unsubscribe them, and they panicked. And I got like 25 emails from people like, don't kick me off your list. I promise I read every single one of them. I love all your newsletters. And that was not my intention. But it had this great effect of like, wow, people actually read them. Like they like them and look forward to them. That was the best thing ever. I was like, I'm going to tell people I'm kicking off my newsletter all the time.
You're out.
I wasn't even saying that, but okay.
Oh, that's awesome. I need to figure out how to do where they can do the preference thing, because I don't know how to do that right now, to say that they can just get the new releases.
Well, if you use MailerLite, I can't tell you how to do it.
Yeah, that's what I use. So. I think I tried to look into it one day. I'm like, I don't got time for this. So. Whatever. Were there any more questions?
Hey. Okay, so Autumn Stone also asks, how many swaps do you do?
For like a launch.
Set up for our launch, or does she mean?
Probably, I would. Well, we can answer both questions. Like how many maybe newsletter swaps you would put in each newsletter, and then also how many newsletter
I
swaps
would say,
you release.
Be fair. Don't shove 15 people in one email, because people who are emailing your book out are probably only sending 2 or 3. My max is 4.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the time when I get to 4, I'm like, I'll put you in, but you're number 4. And most people are like, I don't care. I'll just put me in. So, that's my max. Normally, I don't do that many. And then for newsletter swaps for my books, I get as many as I possibly can. But I try to stage it so that I have less at the beginning of the launch and the most at the end.
So for me, it's like 15 to 20. That's a good range.
Yeah, I was going to say I'm in the 15 to 20 range too. And what I like to do is, what I've started doing is actually printing off a monthly calendar and writing down who I've got on which day, so I can see if I've got any gaps that I can't see otherwise. And I also try and, manage who I've got where. So like if I find it best that once I've learned who people are, it's better to reach out to them individually rather than use the swap groups. So I try and schedule the people I want to schedule first, and then I can go into the swap groups and fill in the gaps in the days that I still need. And so, building those relationships with people is important on an individual basis. And you can start by getting to know in the main group and then just work it into more of a private communication when you have developed those relationships and you know what works for you. But yeah, use a calendar. It really helps to give you the mental image of what your swaps are looking like.
Yeah, I just have like a Word document where I'll list all the people and then the date that they're doing it, and then I'll Then once I have all the dates, then I'll switch them around and put them in chronological order. So if you don't have a calendar, that's what I do.
Calendars are changing it for me. I'm telling you, it's the way of the future, Judy.
I know I probably should do that.
Just print
I
them
should
up the
put one
calendar.
on my Kanban board because it might be more useful.
Yeah, and you can print like 3 at a time in case you need to like spill into other months.
Yeah.
It's amazing to me how far some people schedule their newsletters out. They're like, I have room in like November, and I'm like, what? I'm not even thinking about November yet.
Yeah.
See, that's how mine got recently. I'm only till October. No, I have October. I'm okay.
It's for you people that only send out once a month, probably, or a couple times a month. Yeah, and I'm like, I'll just send them out all the time.
See, I always worry about those unsubscribes. So I need to, I don't know, be more like you.
No.
Okay, so Dana Petrola asked, sorry. I was at the state fair today with 5 kids, so my brain's like right now. So if I'm like looking like I'm on something, I'm just really tired. She asked, what do you recommend is a good price to launch? Oh, we've talked about this.
I'm so going for 99-cent launches, like for the foreseeable future. My $2.99 launches have just really been hard for me.
I've done both $2.99 and 99 cents, and one I think at $3.99. And my 99-cent launches make me more money overall. I get a better rank. I sell more books, more fans, and more money than my full price launches. So, yeah, I have this series I'm doing right now at full price, but I think when I'm done with that, I'm going to go back to 99 cents.
I think for authors who are very established, you can go full price, and I think for authors who have ads, you can go full price. But otherwise, because I'm not using any ads at all, so 99-cent sale prices are my ads, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I need them. And so what I do is I use the 99 cents to get my book up to the rank and as soon as it stops climbing and starts coming back down again, as soon as it gets back, I'll never know if say over or under 1,000.
Yeah.
Like 1,001, then I switch the price. I flip it back to full price. Yeah. It's not by a certain date or a certain time. It's I watch my rank. When my rank gets where I don't want it to, like when it stops moving in the right direction, that's when I flip to full price. So.
Judy goes and changes her book to 99 cents tonight, maybe? I'm trying anything right now.
I know my new book is not at 99 cents right now, but I think it's about to be.
Yeah, I think I might. Hey, sell on my book tomorrow, everyone.
You heard it here first. Judy and Michelle's books will be on sale for 99 cents tomorrow. Go buy them.
Yes, help our ranks, please.
I'll join you.
Best launch strategy, if it's tanking, then start a podcast and beg everybody watching to go and buy your books.
They're really good. They are. Best books you ever read.
Or actually, don't buy them for 99 cents. Just download them through KU.
Yeah, KU, right. Read the whole thing. Give me all the page reads, please.
And then go buy it for 99 cents.
Yes, do both.
Yes, you can borrow the book and then go buy it. So we're not going to limit you to just KU here, people.
I love that. I would say, though, like if I do a big like box set that I launch at 99 cents, I don't make as much because you don't get the help from Amazon, and people will just buy a box set for 99 cents instead of download it. So I try to market it as you get 3 books for the price of 1. And that's what I promo on my ads. And so I find that helps a lot more. Or 4 books or 5 books or however many you have, it helps people get more interested in it. That sounds more exciting to be like, what? That's so cheap. And then I find that I can do that I get those page reads that come in when I do have a full price book at a box set. I think it's more appetizing, and then you make more in the end. For me, I do full price launches, but because it only makes sense for me because I do push ads, so I need to make that profit back. And if I'm pushing people to go to it, then I find I get people to buy it. And $2.99 is like I spend that much money on like a drink at the gas station. So I think we're more price sensitive, but you have to actively be sending people to your thing, or else do it the 99 cents. And I did 99 cents for a long time, and I do not knock 99 cents. I think 99 cents is great. Just for me, I can't justify 99 cents with how much I'm putting into. My break-even point goes way farther out if I do 99 cents than if I do $2.99. Okay. Amanda Bailey says, when you say free day, how does that work? I'm wondering if I'm missing something. I'm in KU, and I currently have Kindle priced at $2.99 for book 1 in my series.
So with that, you can go into your promotions and advertising tab, and it'll have the option for a Kindle countdown deal or a free day. You'll just click the free day, and then you can set it for whatever day within the time frame of your Kindle Unlimited agreement or whatever. It has the 3-month thing. And then, just set that up and then go to the promotion sites or do the promotion sites first. So make sure you can get that day.
Exactly.
And then set it up.
Yeah. You just need to get really familiar with all the rules, because there are some funny little things with like how close it is to end of your term or the beginning of the term, or did you recently have a price change, because you can't do a promotion within, I think, 14 days after doing after having a price change. And so, there's just like a lot of little persnickety rules in there that you need to become familiar with.
I think there's more rules for a Kindle countdown though than a free day.
Yeah, Kindle countdown, you can't do it within like 30 days of a price change, because I just changed mine to full price from $2.99.
Yeah. And you can't do a Kindle
down 99 cents though.
You can't do like a couple of days of a Kindle countdown and then do free days. If you do one or the other, you're done for that enrollment period.
Yeah. Yep.
Any more questions?
There's one at someone just did at the bottom. Deirdre and Anderson. Have any of you experimented with higher prices, or is $2.99 like the sweet spot overall?
My full-length books are $3.99.
Yeah. And
yeah. I've been putting out novellas all year long. So $2.99 is where I'm sticking for contemporary romance novella for sure. But I know that you can do higher price points. Totally. I would say going higher than $3.99 in contemporary romance is tricky, but for historical romance,
fantasy, you can probably pull it off, or science fiction sometimes, depending on what tropes you're writing in.
In historical romance, you can go a little bit higher too.
But I know, I know Jillian Dodd does hers for like $7.99 or something like that, but she's wide and uses ads.
Yeah, you just so go into, as always, go to your bestseller list, see what the price points are that are selling, and take note of whether or not those are indie authors or traditional authors, and whether or not they're in KU, exclusive to Amazon, whether or not they're wide. Like, just check out everything you can and see who's selling well at which price point, and then it'll help you to kind of make that decision. And then you just have to experiment with every launch and try to, that's what's funny about launches, guys. There's a lot to talk about, because there are so many factors that change, every different launch, whatever Amazon's doing, whatever the market's doing, whatever you have going on with your individual book, your cover, your blurb, your tagline, your, newsletter swaps, there's so many different factors on any given day that can affect a book, that it's really hard to have concrete, do this, because everything changes so much. And so you are just going to have to get in and do your own homework, track your own data, do your own analysis. And we can give you all this advice from what we have learned, but everybody's going to have to figure out, what works for them. And the biggest thing that I could say to everybody is just pay attention and experiment and try new things.
Yep, I agree. Are we done?
I think so. So I guess I'm supposed to close this thing. Thank you for watching us and joining us, and for all of your comments and questions. It's been fun seeing those. And make sure to like this video if you liked it, which we know you all did. And subscribe to our channel so that you don't miss another one from us. And also just stay tuned for more details on the Writing Gals Conference, which is coming next August 2020, and it's going to be amazing. So make sure you stay tuned for more details on that. And also continue this conversation in our Facebook group. So yeah, it's been fun hanging out with you. We are the Writing Gals. Thanks for staying up late.